Good evening. I'm Louis Armstrong, Minister Louis Armstrong with Cross Rock Incorporated, and I'd like you to listen to this lecture. It's very important. This lecture is in this book, Judgment of America. And before it was in Judgment of America, my first writing that I ever did was this one. It's the 7 Seals of Revelation. And this was the first writing I ever did, but the first published writing I ever did was Judgment of America. It's very important. Before we go into this lecture, I like to talk about some things, but the lecture is entitled The 7 Seals Revealed, 2020 to 2024. It's very important that we pay attention to this one, get your pens, your notepads, etc. But I'd like to say a little prayer before that. And every person out there that have a mother and a father that's living right now and they're on up in age, show love to your parents, people. Show love to them. Do all you can for your parents. It's very important. It's very important. Because one day you're going to want that same type of love returned to you. Okay? Never forsake the elderly, the wilderness, and all the others. Have a heart for your people. Touch them. Let them know you love them. And that's our responsibility. That's a biblical responsibility. And we need to keep that in mind. Now, I want to deal with this 7 Seals of Revelation revealed because it's very important. You're going to see this in the book of Revelation in the Bible, and many people were saying that like Muslim, I think they say that when the Mahdi comes, that individual will interpret the 7 seals, and then you got other ones say when David comes, David will interpret the 7 seals because of what it reads in Revelation. And you got many other individuals talk about a certain type of leader that's supposed to come, spiritual leader, and reveal what the 7 seals are. This video is going to tell you what the 7 seals are, but yet there's certain parts of this knowledge of the 7 seals that need not be revealed because of the significance of it. And I know that a lot of you want to get it, but as I ponder over this video and over this lecture, I realized that certain things have to be left unsaid for reasons of its own. I'm gonna leave it like that, for reasons of its own, because you got to realize you're in a nation of America, and certain things, and you reveal certain things, and maybe they don't want you to reveal that at that present time. So you have to pay attention to things like that, and especially a leader like myself, a person like myself, I have to follow thought and thought wisdom, and not the wisdom of man. See, man love to have things like ready mix, like you go pick up a Burger King, Possible Whopper, or something from Publix, or some of the other fast food places and stuff like that. But sometimes you got to be able to have wisdom in what you do, although your audience may want this and that, but your organization get bogged down in government affairs and things like that because the government don't want certain things to be known. Your audience, especially the ones out there that's not helping but they're listening, it's not cool. You guys have to step up to the plate, and you have to start taking on responsibility that if you say that you're sons of God, then you need to act like sons of God, because we have a lot of people that there, but they're not helping the organization. You got a lot of people that are listening, but they're not helping the organization. And sometimes I just have to say it like it is, because we want to grow. We really want to grow. And we know we need support to grow to that level. And we need individuals who say that they are or believe that they are sons of God to do the things necessary to help us grow, because it's all of our responsibility to get this word out. So that's a necessity. And that's why I'm talking like I'm talking right now. Now we're going to go into these 7 seals. Okay. The 7 seals of Revelation is found in Revelation 1:13-15. And this is what it's saying to John, as they say, the angel is talking to John. And the person is talking to John. But you got to remember, these are initiates that wrote this, and never lose sight that these are initiates that write. It's initiated writing, okay? So we're going to see it from that point of view, although the book is credited to John, okay? And we need to see this, okay? Now, Revelation 1:13-15. Write the things which thou hast seen, that's the past, and the things which are, that's the present, and the things which shall be hereafter, that's the future. Now in this writing, you're going to see the past, present, and future. This seal book is going to talk about the past, present, and future. Don't lose sight on this. You need to keep that in mind. These seals are to show you the past, present, and future, and you need to see that. Revelation 5:1. And I saw in the right hand is political, in the right hand of him, thought, sitting on the throne, a book written within and on the backside, sealed, excuse me, with 7 seals. Okay? Now, this book is sealed with 7 seals. That means, that means inside these seals is some information. Inside each one of these seals is some information that's vital about the past, present, and the future. And that's what you're going to see in these 7 seals. Information about the past, present, and future. Okay? And this is what you have to look at. The past, present, and future. And you're going to see that. Now, let's go a little further. Revelation 5:5. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. Now, we know that many people's been wanting to know what the 7 seals is all about. Many people's talk about the 7 seals, but you find very few people trying to preach on the 7 seals. They talk about some things, literally what is written about, but opening the seals, they have not. Okay, they haven't. Now, in this book is the 7 seals of Revelation, chapter on the 7 seals. But even in this book, I will not open it to the level in which I'm opening it now. What I did, I gave a biblical account of those 7,000 years or 6,000 years plus going into the 7. But I never gave you the sod of it. I only gave you the biblical account because until you learn all the other lectures, your mind gonna always resonate on the biblical count of things and not the total truth or the fullness of what's going on. So in the book, I gave you that much. I gave you a hint to what you need to see, but now I'm giving you a hint to what is. I'm showing you what is. Okay. Now they're telling you that this person, this Lion of the tribe of Judah, this royal of the tribe of Judah, this root of David, and David we know is translated as Lewis. This David character, this Lewis character, has prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. Now you're finna see these 7 seals, but there's some things in the 7 seals I'm gonna hold back on. Okay? But I'm gonna give you enough, you ones that have that wisdom enough to put the pieces together. Okay? You can put the pieces together and you're gonna see what's really going on. Now, what do it say here? Revelation 5:6-7. Okay? Stood a lamb as it had been slain. Okay? Now you're going to see a lamb as it had been slain. It didn't say it was slain. It say as it had been slain. In other words, a similarity of being slain. Okay? So you're going to see that. As it had been slain. Having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth unto all the earth. Now I want you to understand what this is. These are the 7 Hermetic principles that's inside this, okay? That's going to deal with the 7 eyes, okay? Now I want you to see this word horn. Okay, I need them to get down in here and see this here. You need to see the word.
They can see it.
They can see this real
Yeah.
well? Okay. Now in this horn, you got to see is Horus. So why is it talking about the 7 eyes of the 7 Horus, of the 7 horns? Okay, because you got to know the mythology of this stuff. And you need, some of you all, when you're studying this deep, you need to get a book on myth, on mythology. And get that book, I guess you can see this, get a book like this so you can study the mythology that's been taught in the world, and you could be able to know why certain things been said a certain way and when they were said a certain way. See, the Mary story go all the way back to ancient Egypt, my people. It didn't start at 2,000 years ago, except this story is about Isis and Horus and Osiris and stuff like that. So you'll you'll get cultures pick it up and they'll make a story out of it and they'll groom it up and then they'll teach it, and then you'll think that that's really where it came from right then, when it come from 2,000, 4,000 years earlier from that time. So you have to see all that to understand how our cultures are. Okay, now, but what you're going to see this lamb as he have been slain. But you're going to see a political move, and I want you to see that, because when you deal with the 7 Horuses, the 7 horns, which are the 7 Horuses, you got to understand about Horus. So the only way you understand Horus, you're not going to read this Bible to understand that. You got to go into the mythology to understand that. And when you begin to understand that, you find out that Horus is the person in heaven that we call Jesus in heaven. And Horus is the one that handed the crown down to the Messiahs, okay? Messiah simply means anointed one of the kings, okay? So you're talking about 7 Horuses or 7 crowns. That means the 7 continents. This means that this is a world power ruler. This is a person that God sent to the earth as a lamb being slain, and he is a world leader, not just one for one group of people. And that's very important to understand. Now, what do we mean by if he sent a person to rule? That means he's a prince or a king. So if he's a prince or a king, that means if he as a lamb being slain, a lamb as it had been slain, that means, as Jesus said, when you done to the least one of mine, you have done it to me. So that means when his peoples are catching hell, or his peoples that's not in the position in which they need to be in, or the peoples that will be under his watch in the beginning and later is not in the position or not where they need to be, then there's a blemish on him. And not only that, if he came down to enter into a mother womb of the, what we call the dust man, the earth man, that means that he's a royal inside that body of that earth woman, but he's a king. He's a king. And if that earth woman in America is a black woman and she got to go through these things in which, and her family and her culture have to go through things that will cause opposition to what a king really is supposed to go through, then it's as though he'd been slain. Let's give an example, okay? Just say a person is a royal and he come up and his ancestors are slaves. Just use that for example. Just like you've seen at the time of Noah, it's the same stories, and the Moses story. It's the same story as the Moses story, my people. You hear it right here. It just wrote differently. And that lamb or that Moses type person or that messenger type person is automatically coming up in a slave type family, and his peoples are suffering, you know. And although he go through certain things as time went on, Moses had to go through certain things when he came to himself, and he realized that, look, this is not how it's supposed to be. These people shouldn't be catching all these problems, and everybody else and the other people are doing quite well. These white privileges and etc. here. And he began to see that, then it's a blemish on him, because he actually one that is like the Egyptians to control the 7 continents. He in his bloodline is in that state and come in that position to control the 7 continents, or have power within the framework of the 7 continents. And see, nobody in the political platform, them kind of leaders who's in position, they don't really want to see that person. So you may want to see him, but they don't want to see him, because they don't want nobody to come and control their nations of the world. They want to have total control with those families who control it. So you have to be careful when you're dealing with that type of power. You got to have wisdom, not afraid. You got to have wisdom. And when you're teaching this type of thing, because you know that you're teaching the truth. And when you're teaching the truth, you got to focus on what you're giving them. Okay, and that's very important. Let's go a little further here. Revelation 5:7. And he came and took the book out of the right hand, that's political hand, of him thought that sat upon the throne. Now, you got to remember now, you have the Catholic Church and the Pope, he sat upon the throne right now. Okay, and he have claimed that authority of heaven and earth authority. Now you're talking about someone coming in and take control of a power that's already controlled by the Vatican. Okay, that person got to be wise. Okay, that's like Elijah and Jezebel. That person got to be wise. That kind of power that Elijah had. He had the power to change the realities of things. This person is a person that have that kind of power to change the realities of things. So he have to deal with the power structure that already existed, and he have to walk carefully, just like Elijah's story about Elijah walking carefully around Jezebel. Okay, that's very important. Now we got to see this. I'm trying to tell you the story without getting too deep into it, so you could get a general idea of the significance of this story and the power that you're dealing with in this story. Now, you're going to see this. We're going to go over and we're going to open this up. We're going to open this up. We're going to deal with the procession of the equinox. Now, this story is about the past, present, and future, and we're going to deal with the seals. You're going to need to read your Bible on the 7 seals so you can understand this more, because if I try to read it all and do all that, then you'll be missing a lot of what I need to say. And I need to do this within a certain enough of time. So in the 7 seals, you're going to see the first seal. The book sealed with 7 seals. We're going to deal with the first seal. Okay? And the opening of the first seal. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it was the noise of thunder, one of the beasts saying, "Come and see." Okay? And I saw and beheld a white horse. He that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. And he went forth to conquering and to conquer. Now, let's deal with it. Always remember what this was said in the beginning. He wanted to show him the past, present, and future. Now, so that means if John was in the year 30 BC or 30 AD, then you look at yourself from that time and you look back at the past, you look at the present, and you look in the distant future, and you set in that mode where you can see the past, present, and future. And that if you put yourself in that timing, you can see that. And this is where we're going to come from. And what those seals are simply about is the timing of the timing coming out of the dark age of the procession of the equinox. That's what it really was about, and the history that took place at that time. That's what the seal is about. And the seventh seal is about where you at right now, going into Aquarius, which is a 2,160 year period of time, and it's gonna include in that first 1,000 years. That's the seventh seal, that first 1,000 years, okay? Now, in order to know the timing of the seal, the best way to do it is to count backwards and start the count of the seal and not forward, because the seventh seal gonna tell you silence in the space of half an hour. That's gonna open the seventh seal. Silence in the space of half an hour. So the events in that seventh seal is the way that you determine your count, going backwards and going forward. You need to know that. You don't start from down here at Noah time when you don't know the exact years that Noah dwelled on the earth. So in order to do this, and that Noah is a story of mythology, but the real thing about this seal is true history. This is about true history. And so you use Noah as a starting point, but what you need to mean, not a starting point, but as a part of the ending part of the dark age, because Noah was in the Bronze Age. But in order to get the true meaning of these seals, you got to start at the year 2000 and work back. And once you work back, you get those years, then you teach forward. And that's what I had to do in order to do this. And I had to understand the precession of the equinox well enough, the arts of it well enough to determine what this is really all about. And that's why I take you back to the scripture and say, write the things which thou have seen, the past, and the things which are, the present, and the things which shall be hereafter, the future. You need to keep your mind on that when you're looking at these seven seals. You got to keep your mind on that. It's very important. Now, let's deal with it, okay? Now, if I trace all the way back to that time, in each one of the seals, you got in this, the seals count for each one of the seals is one possession, one time. Like, for instance, let's deal with it. If you're in Pisces, that's going to be the 6th and the 5th seal, okay? The time of Pisces. You're in the Pisces time of Aries, that's going to be the 4th and the 3rd seal, okay? If you're in the time of Taurus, that's going to be the 2nd and the 1st seal, okay? Now each one of these is 2,160 years. So you've got to divide that into half, which will give you 1,080 years. So that means when you count all the way back from 2000 to at Noah time, that the starting point is going to be 4,480 BC. That's going to be the starting point for this. Now this seal, first seal, will start at 4,480 BC. Now you're going to go forward, and that's what we're doing. You're going to go forward. And that's why when I read you, that first, in the first seal, you're going to see, which is the first 1,080 years, take you from 4,480 BC to 3,400 BC. That's that time period in there, coming out of Noah time, which was the age of light, into this area. So in the beginning of that, you're going to see a white horse. You're going to see a white horse riding, but you're going to see a white horse riding as a warrior, okay, as a warrior, because this is a dark age now. So you're going to see him riding as a warrior, but he's going to be riding a white horse in that. And why is a white horse? Because you're coming out of the white environment into that, a righteous environment into that. And this is the first area which man started getting weakened. So a righteous people begin to do battle, okay, do battle, okay. And they was doing battle against a group of people that ain't like us, but they supposed to come in power at that time. And that's basically what it is, and that's why they doing battle, because It's their time to go out, and it's time for the other power, the red horse power, to come in. And that's what's happening. And I don't want to go no deeper on that red horse than what I just gave to you. But it was time for that power to come in. Those hybrids and etc. from that red horse power, or that group of peoples, to come in power. I'm going to say it like that. So the Egyptians were the ones that was in this first seal. And through time, the power structure of that began to weaken by that outside force coming in to do war, okay, with the ancient Egyptians at that time, okay. Now, you got the second one, and let's deal with that, because you got to deal with each one of them. The opening of the second one, they're going to be, let's go with this one. The opening of the second seal. We got to keep this book right on open so we can see it. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And there was given unto him a great sword. Okay? That means warfare. That means warfare. That means this is really going to go into a dark state. Mankind going into a dark state. And you got to remember, they coming from this procession was up here. I mean, this series was up here going through that dark state. Our planet was here going through our dark state. And you have to see that and understand that. In the procession of the equinox, you look at the last video where I talk about the procession of the equinox, when I talk about the serpent people, then you can see some of what this is all about when it comes to that power, how the earth power is weakening, coming through here and there, but once it go in this other area, it's strengthening itself, okay? And you need to understand that. Now, in that second one, that's a force. And I don't want to get too deep into that. I really want to skip across that one. But there's a force that's in the midst of mankind, and we can have it for the Egyptians, or the people that follow in God, okay? And this, when you're going to find that warfare going to start getting bigger and bigger, and in the European world, this is where it's happening at. Now, you can't go, in the book, you got biblical stories, and they show the events in the biblical story, but yet it's not the world events. So they're giving you stories in there, myths in there, so you could go back and search and apply the world history with it, and you will see what's really going on. You'll know what it is, and then you'll know what these horses represent. These horses represent a time of, each one of them, a time of 1,080 years of that certain power, of that there's certain type of events going to be within that period of time. And that's what you're going to see. Now, we're going to deal with that. Let's go into the third one. The third one, the third seal. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast said, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts said, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see that thou hurt not the oil nor the wine." Now you're going to find out that this is going to be the time of, from the biblical account, this going to be the time of Abraham. And you're going to see this as the time of Abraham. Let me, the third. This is the time of Abraham. This is the first part of Aries. And that's 1,080 years. You're going to see that. And that's why you find out that in the story of Abraham, the biblical account, that they went into Egypt because they didn't have food or grain. They needed grain and stuff. And you'll hear about the story of Joseph being sold into Egypt. And they needed grain, and the family needed to be fed and all that. And that's the period of the dark horse. But that's biblical account now. The real account is dealing with the same thing, but it's dealing with historical account. And not only is it dealing with historical account, it's dealing with other events as well. And you need to see that. Now, when it comes to this fourth seal, the fourth seal, you're going to find that in this book on page 51. It says, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the noise of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked and beheld a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the four parts of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Now let's deal with that. What was happening at this period of time, this fourth seal time? This period of time was between 1240 BC and 160 BC. Now, we'll find out that this is a time that when you get into the biblical account of things, this is a time that they showed right before Jesus' time coming. This was a time of the Syrian Empire and stuff like that. This is a time when Alexander the Great had conquered certain areas, a time when the Persians had conquered certain areas and all that. You're going to find out that this is that time, and between that, you got to take your history and you got to look at that time period and begin to see what warring clans and etc. that was participating in at that time. This is a time when you had the first, what they call Christians, what's called the bishops of Christ under Serapis. You'll see that. And most people think Christianity started at what they say Jesus' time around 0 or 30 BC, and it did not. You had the bishops of Christ under Serapis, under the Ptolemaic dynasty. That's where that first came in play. So you will see that. Now, we're going to deal with that fifth seal. So we're getting closer to our time. Okay? The fifth seal. Let's deal with the fifth seal. Let's go into that and look at the fifth seal. And this is what it's all about. That verse give you an idea, that verse, Revelation 1:13-15, what this really is all about. And we have to see that. The fifth seal. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God. Now, you need to pay attention to this very carefully now, because this fifth seal time is from 160 BC to 920 AD. Now, this is the time where they call Christ time. This is the time, well, when they say Christ reigned the earth for the Christian. This is the church time. This is the beginning of what they call the church age. Okay, in between this time, in this time here. So this is why you're going to hear this saying what it's saying. And I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they had. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white roses was given unto each one of them, and it was said unto them, that they shall rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also, and their brethren that shall be killed as they were, shall be fulfilled. Now, what are we talking about? Same thing. Right here, this is what they call the church time. When they was establishing the church and the Roman government was killing people in the arenas and Christians and all this, and they were making sacrifice for their religious belief. It wasn't just Christian. Anybody had a religious belief that was against the crown, the Roman crown, and were against that priesthood that had stemmed all the way from Ptolemy time all the way into Rome. You got to remember, the Romans did not teach Roman. They came with the Greek language. The Greek language was in there. The Greek culture was integrated into Rome. And you will see that at that time in that fifth seal. That is a time from 1600 BC to 920 AD in that fifth seal. You're going to see that. That's when the Christian environment came up. That's when the church told them to accept that belief, accept what they said, and it became a Roman creed that you had to accept Christianity. Even in Constantine time, you had to accept it like it was. It was a time where the Jews, or I would say Hebrews, were warred against at that time, and they was conquering everything in Christendom, everything that dealt with those Hebrews, because they wasn't Christians. They was known as what we would say today, call them Hebrews, individuals that live in the area of Palestine, or live in the area of Alexander, Egypt, which was all Egypt area. And we have to understand that. Now we're going to get into the sixth seal now, because these ones here, the souls on the altar, but this sixth seal is going to deal with from 920 AD to 2000, our time we're living in right now. And you need to understand that. Let's deal with that one. Okay. The sixth seal is going to give you this. Okay. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. Okay, now you got to understand the earthquake. What do that mean in mythology? What do that mean in Hebrew typology? That's a movement in what God's concerned with peoples. That's a movement of peoples from one area to the other. A movement. So earthquake is about a movement, moving people from radically from one area to the other. When you see an earthquake, it's a radical move of matter from one place to the other. So this is a radical move of matter of the peoples of God from one place to the other. So you're going to see that. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. What is sackcloth of hair? That's what you use in farm work. You're using that. Sackcloth of hair is like the sacks that they do put feed in, the sacks that they put potatoes in, the sacks that they put tobacco in if necessarily, after they hang it in the barn. I don't know much about tobacco, but it's a farm environment, a farm thing, labor force environment. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Now, suns always represent God's people. The moon always represents God's people. Okay, so you're looking at the sun being black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon become as blood. That means a hard time in the life of God's people. Now we got to observe this and see what happened at that time between 920 and AD and 2000. This is a time where you're going to hear about the 40 acres and the mule. This is the time you're going to hear about the 400 years that they would be in servitude under a nation of America, etc. You study other videos and you will see this. This people's enslavement. This is talking about enslavement. This is talking about servitude. Okay, and it's not only blacks, it's any people that's in servitude. So what we go back and look at what was happening and putting people in servitude around that time, 920 AD. You had the slave of the Muslims, slaving the Christians, and slaving more like the Africans at that time. You had an African slave trade from the Arabs at that time. The Arabs was enslaving the Africans and stuff like that. And then later you had the European enslaving the Africans at that time and had a lot of servitude, but that was enslavement, field work. They needed field hands to work the tobacco fields. They needed field hands to pick the cotton. They needed field hands to cultivate this new world, this America. And this is a time that the seals is showing you at that time of human history. That's what that seal is all about. Now we're going to get into the seventh seal. And when is the seventh seal? The seventh seal starts at 2000. Okay. Now you see how all these match up, and it comes right on around in it. Each one of these Taurus have two seals in it, which Taurus is 2,160 years, and they have 1,080 years apiece in each one of them. Aries have two seals. It's 2,160 years, and half of that, each one, half of it got the 2 seals in there, the third and fourth seal, which is 1,080 years of peace. Then you got Pisces. It have 2 seals, the 5th and the 6th seal, and it have 2,160 years, and it have 1,080 years of peace in each one of the seals. That's exactly what the seals mean, my people, those 6 seals. But what is important for you today, you need to know about the 6th seal so you can understand the 7th seal. Because the 7th seal is what is relevant to you today in the events that's going to happen in the 7th seal. Now, what do the 7 seals say? I love truthism, and I know that this lecture is not a lot of screaming and hollering. This lecture demands your audience attention. It demands that was necessary to open your eyes to the truthism that exists in the Word of God and in our day-to-day life. Because he said what he said, write the things which thou have seen, write the past, and the things which are, write the present, and the things which shall be hereafter. That means the future. Now, I have showed you the past. Now I'm showing you the future. And you need to see that. Now, the opening of the 6th seal, the 7th seal goes as this. Okay? And when he had opened the 7 seals, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. This is very important to understand what this means, and I'm going to come back to that. And I saw the 7th angel, which stood before God, and to them was given 7 trumpets. Now, this is what you need to see. Now, first of all, you got to do some calculation. At the year 2000, we say at the year 2000. If we say at the year 2000, this history must fit with the biblical mythology of the biblical writings of that time. And he's going to be given 7 angels sounding 7 trumpets. Okay? Now, what you're going to see here, and another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he shall offer it for the prayers of the saints unto the golden altar, which was before the throne. Now, this means that it's some things that's going to happen where the saints need the prayers of God. That is 21 years of events that are to happen in America, because this book was sent to America, where the saints need the prayers of God. And we're going to see this. Now, how do you calculate that? He says silence in heaven. He say on earth, silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. To calculate that, you got to know that you got to know that heavenly time. You got to see in 1 Corinthians, I think it's 15:53 or something I wrote there. I believe that's where it's at. But heavenly time, it takes 1,000 years of earth time. Okay, 1,000 years of earth time to make a day of heavenly time. So it's talking about the space of half an hour. So you got to take 48 half an hours in a day, because you got 24 hours, 48 half an hours in a day, and divide that into 1,000 years, and it'll give you roughly 21 years. It's 20, as you do on your calculator, it's 20 plus, 5, 6 years or something like that. We roughly round it off, it's 21 years. So there's events that's going to be 21 years, and you got 7 angels in there. So you got 7 divided into 21. It's 3, each angel have 3 years of peace. So these events that they're talking about here, going to be, each one of them, but the angel's talking about, going to be 3 years of peace. Each angel 3 years of peace in that 21-year period of time. And those events going to start at the year 2000. That's what it's showing. And you have to see that. And let's deal with it. Okay. And the first Okay, we deal with the first one. Now let's deal, we got to go over here to deal with that 21 years, okay? That seventh seal is 21 years. I got it. During the time I'm going to deal with the paradigm shift, at the paradigm shift, going into the age of Aquarius. This is the Bronze Age, which is the age toward peace, okay? That's 2000 to 3080, that's that period of time. Now, in Revelation 8:1, okay, let's read it again. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And you're going to see that. And we're going to get into that. Now, what I'm going to do before I talk about this, I skipped something. And you can look on the chart. You can look on the chart and you can see those first 6 seals. And you can see the history. See, because that's what you got to know. The history. Not the biblical history. Because the biblical history is full of allegories and symbolism and stuff like that to lead you to this. When you initiate, you got to know that you got to deal with the practical history, not the biblical history, because the biblical history is a coded history. And you got to see, in that first seal, you're going to see Egypt and this Noah's son coming out. And I'm only using Noah, biblical Noah, as an example where he started from. Okay, this is the Egyptian on that first white horse. And then this area here, I want to leave that out for a later date. I'm going to get into that later. I don't want to talk about that transition in that red horse, because that's a lot they got to be talked about. Okay, because that energy comes all the way through the rest of this. Okay, and the third seal deal with the black horses. At the time, you got these different Sumerians and Akkadians and all these other individuals come in on the scene at 2,320 to 1,240. Then in the fourth seal, you got the Phoenicians and the Grecians at 1,240 to 160 BC. And down here in the fifth seal, you got the church age, the Greece, the Greek Romans, and all that. And that's from 1060 BC to 920 AD. And then the sixth seal, the great earthquake part, you got the slavery, and you got the Arab and European slave trade in that existed in that seal, and that's from 920 AD and 2000 to 2000 AD. And you're going to see that. That's what these seals all about right there. Now we'll go to the seventh seal. In the seventh seal, as I say, silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. You're going to deal with the year 2000. So you're going to do from 2000 to 2020, okay, in that particular seal. But that seal is going to extend its whole period. It's just that the beginning of the seal is going to talk about the 21 years. Now, if I talk about this and say that this is how it goes when I read it, you must see the similarity, how the word matching up with the timing. You need to see that. It's very, very important to see that. Now, Revelation, you tell you silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. We're going to say that was 21 years. Okay, you divide 48 half an hours into 1,000 years, and you get roughly 20.83. Round that off, 21 years. Okay, you can see it in 2 Peter 3:8, where it talk about 1 year with the Lord is as 1,000 years. Okay, one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years. So that's how you come up with this particular calculation. You have to see this. Now, it's very important. Now, that's your 21 years. You got 7 angels. That's 3 years each. Now, let's going to deal with that first angel. Let's deal with the first angel. And I want you to see this because it's very important to know what these 7 seals really mean. These 7 seals is not about what they try to show you. These are symbolism, dialogues, and manifolds. This is stuff that you got to translate to understand what's really going on. Okay, now, we're living, and all us are living now, and we have adults living now. We done live in these 20 1 years. We're in the last of the 21 years right now. So we could easily be familiar with what he's saying, how to apply the symbolism to it. That way we'll know exactly what it's saying. Okay? And it say, and I saw the seventh angel which stood before God, and to them was given 7 trumpets. Okay? And he said, and I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them was given 7 trumpets. And I told you, each one of these are 3 years period of time. That's the first one, angel, is from 20 to 22. The second angel is from 2003 to 2005. Let me start over. The first angel is from 2000 to 2002. The second angel is from 2003 to 2005. The third angel is from 2006 to 2008. The fourth angel is from 2009 to 2011. The fifth angel is 2012 to 2014. The sixth angel is from 2015 to 2017. And the seventh angel, 2018 to 2020. Okay, and you're going to see that. Now, what God is doing, God is showing you in this, the events. So what could be done is you can understand that future part that's from there. You can understand what's going to happen after that. So he's going to give you this so you can apply it to history of America, because this book was sent to the United States of America. This book was sent to America for us to translate, to interpret. That's why you can see Trump hold that Bible up. And a lot of people see him hold it up, they don't understand what it's all about. And you have to begin to understand what it's all about. That way you can see this whole story unfold itself here. Okay? Now, and the first angel sounded and fell and followed hail and fire, meaning with blood. And there was cast unto the earth, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and the third part of the grass was burnt up. Now, what is they talking right here? Okay, the trees and the grass and the fire and fell of there, and there fell hail and fire mingled with blood. Now we know at that time, in that first angel time, we had 9/11. Okay, what did we have? And we had war. At that time, we had economic problems. The trees burned up. The thing, we started having economic problems. That's what the trees and stuff represent. And the fire mingled with blood, hail and stuff. It's talking about war, warfare, calamities, war, when deal with warfare. And we know that when we seen 9/11, we seen that the building, the towers going down, we seen fire. It's war. Not only we see that, we see that they was preparing for war at that same time, and you had a economic problem at the same time. You had an economic problem at the same time. That's why you're going to hear them talk about, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and the third, and the green grass was burnt up. That means economics, because you need the cattle to eat the grass and stuff like that, the trees to grow the fruit and all this, and you that's showing you an economic problem. So in between 2000 and 2002, you had economic problems. You had the 9/11, you had the war start kicking off at that time. They had preparation for the war. You had economic problems at that time. And that's the main thing, the economic problem, the war, the 9/11, war, economic problems. Now, what happened during the time of the second angel, from 2003 to 2005? You need to study this history, my people, and understand what this book is really trying to say to you. I don't want to go into depths. You get the book and you can go into depths about this, and you can see more of it. And you get with the second angel. Let's get with the second angel. Okay, and the second angel sound, and as it was a great mountain burning with fire, and was cast into the sea. Now you understand, the mountain basically means the church, and the sea means Europe. Now this mountain or this church thing gonna have a relationship with Europe, gonna be a part of the European environment, okay? And we need to see that. It was burning with fire. That means it had trouble happening in it. It was cast into the sea. In other words, cast into the sea means cast back. The problem going to be going, stem back to Europe. This problem is going to stem back to Europe, okay? And the third part of the creatures, which was in the sea, they call them creatures, which was in the sea, had life died. And the third part of the ships was destroyed. Now you're going to see here events happening around the church and events happening with the seas. This means storms, etc. at that time, because the seas stir up with storms, and then you got problem with shipping and etc. Now what happened in history? Let's deal with this. Let's deal with it. What happened in history? At that time, 2003 to 2005, you had problem with the Catholic Church, okay? The pedophile and all this other stuff. You had the boy priests that stayed on the news at that time. Look back at your news people. Look back at you. The Catholic Church, when it came to these priests and having affairs with these young boys and all that, a lot of young men were standing up and saying what the Catholic Church was doing to them, okay? And that's why you see this conflict that deal with the mountain, the church, the religion, and etc. at that time. So you had a lot of that talk. But also you had Katrina. Katrina happened at the same time. At the same time, natural disasters. And you have to see this. Because this goes with history. This book is right on time. Okay? Those people, those initiates that looked into the future and they wrote this, they seen what was going on in this 21-year period of time. And they wrote it and they recorded it in the book. So this is nothing that's foreign. This is nothing that you cannot find out. All you got to do is be one that God has given that gift to interpret it. And you can see this. There's no rocket science. It's just you got to have that open, that Akashic records, that knowledge, that vortex of knowledge, and your mind got to become one with the Creator in order to get this. Okay. Now we're going to get into the third angel. Still with the third angel. Okay. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it was a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of water. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the water, because they was made bitter. Now, what happened at that time? What did it deal with? It deal right here, in this one, it deal with the American dream, okay? At this time, between 2006, 2008, the dream was dying, the star. America was like a nation on a mountaintop that cannot be hid. With those ideas that come into each and every one of our life to enlarge it, to make it wider, fuller, better, never to restrict it. But the dream was dying now. The dream was dying. And that's what it means by the star falling. Dream was dying. What will we have? The fall of American dream at that time, the stock market. Because we have believed in America is that we work hard, we save our money, and we retire to have a good life for ourselves. But at that time, we had economic problems. The market done failed. Many people lost their money. They lost their homes, their dream of having a home and all this stuff. A lot of things, people losing their businesses and stuff like this. It was a great fall of the American dream in the stock market. Okay, so we have to see that in that one. But let's deal with this fourth seal. Let's deal with the fourth angel. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So the third part of them was darkened, and the day shined not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard the angels flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voice of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. Now there's a warning that from this fourth time, trouble was going to come. Trouble was on its way in the other three. But what happened at that time? Now you got to look at what it's saying now in this fourth one. 2009 to 2011. You had that earthquake in Haiti. Okay, that's one of them, the earthquake in Haiti. And you had economic problems existing, even more and more at that time. But that time you were dealing with natural disasters. You were dealing with unrest in America. Things where you said you looked at your nation to do good and to take care of your people, and you find out that there was things that happening was not in the will of God. And it said in the third part of the moon and the third part of the stars. So the third part of them was darkened, and the day shined not for a third part. That means life was getting gloomy at that time. Life in America, life in our neighboring countries like Haiti and other countries around us really is connected to America. It was not the good thing. You had that earthquake in Haiti, and some say that the earthquake wasn't a natural thing, it was a man-made thing. So you had a lot of problems at that particular time in America and the world in general. Now, in the fifth angel, from 2012 to 2014, let's deal with that one. Dealing with that fifth angel. Let's deal with the fifth angel. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. Earth always represents America in biblical time prophecy. And to him was given the keys of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, and smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air was darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts unto the earth, and unto them was given power, as the locusts of the earth have power. And it was commanded. Now listen to this word, commanded. You need to hear this. Commanded them that they shall not hurt the grass of the earth, neither the green thing, neither any tree, but only those men who have not the seal of God in their forehead. And to them it was given that they shall not kill them, but that they shall be tormented 5 months. Okay, and the torment was as the torment of scorpions when they stung a man. Now, what happened in history at this time in this fifth seal? This was the time when a bomb was raining. Most people don't know much about the drone strikes. Okay, the drone strikes. The drone strikes. And see, there's a warfare was going on, and most Americans didn't know nothing about it, but people's in Saudi, in the Middle East and all that, and other parts of the world, they was taking the sting of that scorpion sting, that drone sting, because it was 540 drone attacks that a bomb sent out, killing individuals. See, in this, we have to understand that what was happening at that time, okay? And now we need to go, and the Bible shows this stuff. Now we need to go as a sixth angel from 2015 to 2017. Now you're going to deal with, see up here, it was also, before we go there in the fifth, it was setting the debt ceiling up and all this other stuff, putting America in more debt and things like that. So a lot of things, and the drone strike, so a lot of things happening in that time. The sixth seal. Now you could find, in this fifth seal, you find the Antichrist type person environment in there, but I'm not going to get into that one. I'm not going to teach that right now. We're going to leave that one alone, okay? Okay, you want to know about it, you figure it out. But I know what it is, but I don't want to share that at this time. The sixth angel, 2015 and 2017, okay? And what was happening? You're going to deal with natural disasters at this time in the sixth seal, okay? Sixth angel. Okay, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying, to the seventh angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Now, in order to understand that, you got to understand Hebrew typology. You got to understand that, because you got to see what area in America fit that same area of when you see that river, okay, the Euphrates. When you see that river, the Euphrates, what area in America fit that? Because these storms or these events got to happen in that location, and coming up in that location. When you look at the state of Florida, you look at the state of Florida, and you see, and you look at the area of Syria, and you see the Tigris, and you see the Euphrates River, you're going to see an area that's shaped similar to Florida, a body, a landmass shaped similar to Florida. And you're going to see it. I have it in this book. I think I could give you a quick look at it. It won't take a second. Give you a quick look at that. You need to see this, because that's where you can understand how and what this is saying. Could they see this clearly? Huh?
Yep.
Yeah. And see, that's what they need to see. This shape here, this is the Euphrates right here. And you're going to see it's similar to Florida, the west coast of Florida. And you're going to see that. It's very important to know that, this in Hebrew typology, so you can figure out what this is saying. Now when you get here, you're going to see this. Now, what happened at this time? You had storms happen. You already had America in problems right there. But you're talking about the storms and other events that was happening. And at that time, you had Matthews coming up, that Euphrates type river, the Gulf of Mexico area. And you had it weeping havoc on Texas, on Louisiana. You know, you had it even hitting the northwest part of Florida, and etc. You had these kind of problems. Plus, you had problems arising with Trump-Pence presidency at that same time. So you're going to hear that even in this. It's going to talk about the trumpet. It's going to tell you at that time. And the fourth angel was loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And you need to see this. And this is what's happening. It was weeping havoc in this area similar to the Euphrates. You had it coming right up that coast, up the coast of Florida, west coast of Florida, coming into Texas, etc. And you had Harvey was worse than Katrina. You had one of the worst storms at that time in American history. At that particular time, you had Harvey and other things happening. Okay, other storms happening, and then you had Trump-Pence presidency coming on that time, which was going to wreak more havoc on the American society and what they want to do and how they need to achieve certain goals. Okay, now let's go into this seventh seal. And then the seventh angel, it was between 2018 and 2020. That's the time we're living in right now. Let's get into that. It's very important to get into that so you can see the seventh angel. And this is all in this book dealing with these angels and stuff like that. You're going to see. And the seventh angel sounded, and you're going to hear what is read. Revelation. Seventh angel sounded. And the seventh angel sounded, and there was a great voice in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. Now, this is at the time of the paradigm shift. This is at the time of the reset. And you have to see that. This is the time when God is preparing to take control and make the events fit so we could get our act together and begin to focus on building the world better, or building the kingdoms of God on earth. This is this particular time. So you're going to see this time here in the time of the voice of the messenger which is its time to come, and then you're going to see in that seven, where that seventh angel sounded, you're going to see the last part of that 3 years, or that 21 years, from 2018 to 2021. And it said it's a time of a great voice of the messenger and the exodus, in other words, a movement of peoples in order to form the kingdoms of God on earth. And it say, and the calamities and the wars. So you're going to have calamities and wars and etc. And the building of a nation in America and other areas of the world. Now, let's get into this, so you need more. I could just cover so much, but I'm going to deal with this right quick. How much time we got? Okay. Now, what they're saying right now in this, from 2018 to 2020, you're trying to set the precedence of what the future is going to hold, because they say forever and ever. That means that this events that's going to happen in this 3-year period of time is going to set the stage for the rest of that 2,160 years, the age of Aquarius. So what you're going to have in there, you're going to say, and the kingdoms of God is going to come to the earth. In other words, we're going to come to a conclusion that there's no other way but to bring peace, because Aquarius is the age of peace. There's no other way but we us to unify ourselves and have the integrity to build ourselves the way we need to build ourselves. Each person, each race being able to have the fair share of what they're supposed to have in this world. And this is what's going on between preparing it from 2018 to 2020. Now, when we began to see, we know that Donald Trump came on the scene in the sixth seal, at the end of the sixth seal, to mean the end of the sixth angel, and that he's in this part right here. So we know that this part right here is to be able to work to set the stage for God's people to be able to build themselves as a people. And this is going to be able to bring us into what we're supposed to come in. But at the same time, we got to understand that there's calamities and wars that's going to happen to help straighten this out. Because they talk about forever and ever. That means that this is going to be straightened out. This is a time that leads to whatever it takes to get this sought into motion, that God could build his kingdoms on earth. That means he have sought this angel as a president, as a part to show you this is what's going to happen. We're going to build God's kingdom on earth. We're going to build this nation and build these nations to be what they're supposed to be, even if they got to fall to rise. And this is what it's saying. It's going to fall out of this bad condition, out of this selfish, hard-headed condition to get where God wanted to get to. And this is what this angel is saying, that this angel is setting the precedence to line America into that right path with one mind, one heart. Okay, one path. And that's what it is. And this is what it's all about. So these seals are showing you that right now, along with the other prophecies, it said after that 400 years, is after 2019, and we're in 2020, after that 400 years, the other prophecies say that there's going to be a 30-year judgment to get us and get these nations, especially the nation of the world, America, get the nation of America in line. So we have to do certain things at that time. And in the teaching of Genesis, in the 15th chapter, it tells about that. It tells about in Exodus, where you have 430 years for God's people to come out of a condition, and that in that 30-year period of time, they're working to build that kingdom, or build that place that God has, and have that Exodus, so we could have the things sought up where the people could live the true American dream. And that's what these seals is all about. Now, I could go into more detail, but I don't want to do that at the present moment. Now, also, that's the end of that lecture, but that's what the 7 seals is about. You could get it, you could look at it, and you could know that the person who ought to open the seal is right before you right now. This is the true meaning of the 7th seal. It could be taught into in-depth, but certain parts I don't want to go in right now. So I gave you a view of what's really the seals is all about. Now, we're going to deal with what we're trying to do and where we need to take this organization, because if we had the funds to take this organization to the next level, I could even teach this deeper. That's one part of the sod. It could go deeper. But yet, at the time, we need donations. You need to make the donation to Louis Armstrong Ministry at 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida, 32210, or Cross Rock Incorporated. You can use the same address, 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida, 32210, or you can use Cross Rock and go to Give Lafai under Charitable on your mobile app. Also, PayPal at ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. Now, we are trying to raise this money because it's very important to us for our advertisement, so we can get more subscribers and get more viewers so people could be watching these videos. So we've been asking individuals under advertisement, some people to donate $5,000, some people to donate $2,500, some people to donate $1,500, and some people to donate $1,000, and the rest, whatever you can, as you can. But we're trying to do this within a 3-month period of time, and we need your support. We really need your support. Asking the sons of God, everybody that's in the audience that feel that they are of God, to make this pledge. Help us get where we need to get to, because we really need to get to that next level so we can take this lesson and take this knowledge to another level, and we need that. Also, we have Kevin Hartzog. We have Eldon Journal. We got your name on here today, and we want you to see and understand that we do appreciate you and your contributions to this organization, your support, and there's many other individuals that we will talk about through time also. But this lecture is something that you need to take this information and you need to store it. You need to take this and record it off the internet, whatever you need to do, and you need to put this in your archives or wherever you keep your stuff at, because this is the true meaning of the 7 seals of revelation. If you wanted to know what they are simply 6,000 years before, over 6,000 years before 2000, and you got to look at each seal is the history of 1,080 years, and you could go back or you could go forward once you know what it is. This at the time of what we call Noah, at Noah time. This is the time of Noah's children and etc., that bloodline. That's why they ride the white horse at that time. And you need to know that and understand that. And then take on off from that to the rest of the history. But this book is about true history, not what they call biblical history. Biblical history is caught up in mythology and all this other stuff. This is, the 7 seals is about true history, what's happening in your real history. And it's based around, I have to say it like it is, most of this based around European points of views of history. You got to see that because the Initiates wrote this book. So when you call this book what it is, you got to know what it is. It's a book of the spirit of truth, okay? And when you say it's the word of God, you got to understand that it's the word of God only as it interpreted properly, okay? Because that book could do 2 things to you. It could empower you or it can enslave you. So you never lose sight of that. And this is a real good lecture. It's a lecture that individuals have to study. It's not something that's given to you and just gonna be made easy. This is a lecture you have to study. So that's why you need to look at this procession of the equinox. You need to look at it from the time of Noah all the way from here in the time of when Noah used the term that man have became wicked. Deal it, always go all the way around. And each one of the seals, like I said, 1,080 years. And each one of these, Taurus, Aries, and Pisces each one carry two seals. And you see that. And I like you to be able to, get in touch with us, write us letters, so we can know and hear from you, individuals that we have used as supporters. Some of you that got your name on the board and we haven't heard from you in 3 or 4 months, step to the plate, because what we're doing, we're going to be doing a new name listening up there. We want to be able to put the new people that's on there, and we want to put our other people on there. But if we haven't heard from you in 2 or 3 months, then those names will be dropped. But we don't know where you are, and no communication with you. So we want to keep it right and fair. So I say to you, as I always say to you, have a beautiful day, and we love you. Thank you.